Welcome back to The Explainer. Today we're diving into an absolutely breathtaking musical pivot. We're talking about Ornn's phenomenal, triumphant track, Rise from the Ashes. Now, if you've been following Ornn's journey, you know we spent some time deep in the trenches with some incredibly heavy themes. But this track, it is a total game changer. We're talking a spectacular evolution from suffocating darkness straight into this brilliant, funky light. It's a pure anthem of resilience, and we're going to break down exactly how this reconstruction happens.
I want to kick things off with this lyric, because it really frames the whole whiteboard journey we're going on today. Every wound becomes a sign. It's essentially the core thesis of our explainer. It's this powerful idea that literal scars, chronic pain, and deep trauma aren't the end of your story. No, they're actually the blueprints for a massive, powerful redesign.
So let's get right into Section 1, Escaping the Shadows, and take a quick look back at the abyss of previous tracks.
To really appreciate the height of this rebirth, we kind of have to acknowledge the dark era Ornn is pulling us out of. You remember the timeline, right? It kicks off with Hello Darkness, which was so viscerally autobiographical, defined by that invisible, chronic physical pain, literally feeling like a devil in the head. Then boom, we hit Justice Delayed, just blistering with burning rage and systemic isolation behind cold stone walls. And of course, Voodoo, which completely plunged us into the toxic hypnosis and media manipulation of our glowing screens. All of those elements combined to build a seriously heavy, oppressive reality. We're talking about a world where you're drowning in silent fears, locked down by the chains of a bleeding clock, and stuck dancing to this wicked, twisted beat. It left you feeling totally trapped, right? The truth was completely obscured, and the isolation was absolute. It was literally like screaming behind soundproof glass.
Which brings us to Section 2, a shift toward the light, and the absolute funk and groove explosion.
Because man, just when you think the walls are permanently closing in, this massive musical and emotional pivot hits you out of nowhere. The energy entirely flips. The heavy, isolating silence and those distorted toxic beats of the past are instantly wiped out by a warm, super vibrant funk and groove explosion in Rise from the Ashes. It is not just a lyric change, it is a full-on sonic awakening. The rhythm itself feels exactly like sunlight, finally smashing through those cold stone walls we were just talking about.
And this line right here nails that shift perfectly. I've tasted pain, but now I roar. The pain from Hello Darkness and that screaming rage from Justice Delayed didn't destroy the artist. Instead, all that suffering got metabolized. It got transformed into this incredibly powerful, roaring, and undeniably funky new voice. It's an absolute assertion of power.
All right, moving on to Section 3, The Phoenix Rises, where we are visualizing the rebirth.
I absolutely love the imagery here. A fiery phoenix erupting straight out of a shattered clock face. Think back to those chains of time and that bleeding clock that kept us isolated in Justice Delayed. Here, the phoenix is literally obliterating that timeline. Time isn't a cage anymore, it's literally just kindling for the fire.
And just like the mythical phoenix, this song takes the ashes of the past and uses them to fuel its flight. The lyrics mention crumpled dawns and broken flowers, the wreckage of those dark eras. But here's the thing. A phoenix doesn't just manage to survive a fire. It actually requires the fire for a spectacular, unstoppable regeneration. It literally draws new life right out of the destruction.
Let's break down the lyrics a bit more in Section 4, Wounds Become Signs, a lyrical deconstruction.
This chorus is, without a doubt, the absolute heartbeat of the entire track. You fall, you break, but you rise again. What's so beautiful is that it doesn't try to just bypass the trauma. It acknowledges with so much empathy that falling and breaking are necessary, unavoidable parts of the human experience. You literally have to go through the breaking to get to the rising.
And this is where that funk groove we were talking about earlier does the heavy lifting. Frozen hearts begin to thaw, the fire returns beneath the scar. The rhythm itself acts as a literal thaw. It's pumping vital warmth and blood flow back into a heart that had been frozen solid by all those relentless trials and chronic pain. The fire doesn't erase the scar, right? It returns beneath it, bringing the whole system back to life.
Every wound becomes a sign. Every fall redraws the line. Think of it like drawing on our whiteboard. Every jagged mistake, every agonizing scar from a wound is brilliantly repurposed. It's no longer just a mark of damage. It becomes a signpost pointing straight toward a new, much stronger boundary. With every fall, you're grabbing the marker and redrawing the line of who you are and what you'll tolerate. It is just ultimate empowerment. Which brings us to our final act, Section 5, Love
conquers fear. The ultimate fuel.
So this begs a really fascinating question. If pure, burning rage and a demand for truth was the fuel for the fight in Justice Delayed, what is the actual driving force that gets the Phoenix off the ground here in Rise from the Ashes? What's the new fuel for this era?
Well, the lyrics emphatically reject the chains and the silent fears that anchored us in the past. No chains can hold the will to try. No fear can kill the need to fly. They are flat out declaring that those negative forces are totally powerless against human willpower. The need to fly is an instinct, and no systemic wall or toxic media trance is ever going to kill it.
And here is the triumphant answer embedded right into the song. The fire of love is stronger than fear. It's an incredibly optimistic, unshakable belief. Think about it. The darkness, the pain, the voodoo trances, they all fundamentally rely on fear. But Orn concludes that the active, burning fire of love will always, inevitably, completely overpower the passive shadows of fear.
As we wrap up today's explainer, I want to leave you with a provocative thought straight from Orn's closing lyrics. The fire lives in your own hand. This fire of rebirth, it's not just in the music, and it isn't something you have to wait around for somebody else to spark. It's in your hands, right now, just waiting for you to strike the match. So what will you build from your own ashes? Thanks so much for joining me on this deep dive, and keep that fire burning.